Okay, so hi guys, welcome to another episode of Mesh Learning, and we're going to be talking to uh, a fantastic social entrepreneur from Top Up Truck today about the topic of crowdfunding. So quite often social enterprises need a bit of a boost at the start in order to get moving, because some of them don't generate income, some do, but ultimately the key thing is that they are benefiting the environment or they're adding social impact. And so Top Up Truck is a fantastic, innovative take on the problem of plastic and plastic waste. So I met Ella last year during a community project, and was fantastically interested about Top Up Truck, and decided to go and see what they were doing, and have been sort of watching ever since. And now I've got a fantastic opportunity to welcome her and talk about a really, really important topic, which is crowdfunding. So welcome, Ella.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for having me. How's it going?
Oh, that's great. Great. I mean, if I look outside, I mean, it's fairly dreary, but you know, I'm feeling pretty good today, so it's all good. So we're going to dive straight in because this is a really, really important topic, and a lot of people, the audience that have, are the sorts of people that I want to know this. You know, they're the sorts of people that help benefit communities. They're creating like environmental enterprises, recycling projects, those sort of things. And sometimes they need a boost because they might need to buy a new piece of machinery, or you know, which is, it might take a year in order to do that. And you know, that's kind of the situation I guess you find yourselves in. You've got this fantastic bit of machinery, but actually you're wanting a bit of an upgrade. You tell me sort of what you're doing at the moment in terms of your crowdfunding campaign to set the scene.
Yeah, so just to give you a brief summary of what Top Up Truck does, yeah, as you said, launched back in August, and it's a mobile zero waste shop, which essentially makes it easier for people to shop without plastic packaging by taking it to their home. So it means that yeah, people with kind of mobility issues or who are shielding or for whatever reason can also, who are environmentally engaged, aren't excluded from being able to go to shops. But it also makes it more just more widespread insofar as it's kind of out in the community, and people sort of one person will recommend the service to their neighbours, and it sort of spreads a lot more widely than if one person sort of individually engages with the idea. So so yeah, I kind of got to a certain point without the crowdfunding funds, but actually in order for me personally, in order to like take this business to the next level and to kind of kit out this truck, this milk float in the way that it needs to be kitted out, I needed some extra funds. So yeah, I thought crowdfunding is a really good way of doing it, and as you touched on before, when it's a really good social cause or a really good environmental cause, people do everyone, yeah, people rally behind, and it's a really nice way of sort of people feeling part of the project. It's a really good way of kind of building engagement and kind of getting awareness for the project as well.
Yeah, fantastic.
As well as funds.
Yeah, so you talked about some of the key things, you know, so having that community awareness is quite important, and obviously, you know, people shouldn't be shy of that, because it's like if you're helping people or you're helping deal with an environmental issue, then you know it's actually critical that people will rally behind those sort of things, because you know, to be fair, the government is fairly shocking in terms of quite a lot of their record on this front. So you know, power to the people. And actually in terms of crowdfunding, that's another sort of decentralized way of funding things, where you don't have to go through the banks or traditional methods of getting funding, which means you're less beholden to the principles of the money, essentially, which is yeah. brilliant for social.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it's sharing it over many individual people who are genuinely interested in it, for not for their own personal gain, but for because they want to see it happen, basically, and they can all contribute within their own means, whether it's, you know, a fiver or £1,000, and yeah, and it's a really fun thing to do.
Yeah, so you sort of chosen quite a clever route of doing crowdfunding. I think there's about 4 different types of crowdfunding, and you know, so you've got things like taking equity, you know, so you can actually crowdfund for equity, you can crowdfund just literally for money, to raise money for a cause, or you can do gift, sort of gift exchange. So you're giving a reward, reward-based crowdfunding as well, which is, I think, is the route that you've taken.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hybrid, actually, where people can straight up pledge a donation without receiving a reward, which a lot of people have done, or they can indeed claim one of the rewards. So it's quite good, because you're getting, some people are in it for the reward, some people are in it for supporting the cause.
Awesome.
But yeah, and I, you know, for obviously, I guess equity-based crowdfunders are good for certain things, but for a social project, this method of crowdfunding and the particular platform that I've done it on, Crowdfunding UK, is actually really, really good. I'm sure the other ones are quite good as well, like Space Hive and stuff like that, but I don't know much about them, to be honest.
Yeah. So what sort of stood out for that particular platform?
Well, I mean, it's based in the UK, and I'd gone on a little webinar prior to launching the campaign, and I just found the team were really helpful. Looking at the sort of projects that had been on there in the past, it seemed like a really good fit. It's a blend of sort of businesses with a social mission and or environmental mission, as well as kind of community projects. And yeah, they allow flexible funding. Some of the platforms, there's 2 different types of funding. You can do an all or nothing, which is actually what they recommend you do, because of the sort of like motivational like gravitas it gives the project. But or you can do what I did, which is flexible funding, which is a bit more low risk. But to be honest, I did that, and it paid off fine. And so it basically means that, say you set a target of 10 grand, you only make 3 grand, it doesn't all go get reimbursed. You keep that 3 grand, and you can obviously still do something with that. So yeah, it was just the fact that it seemed really easy to use. The reward system seemed right. It just seemed like the right platform.
I think Indiegogo have a similar sort of model, whereas Kickstarter are all or nothing, aren't they? And picking something which is a bit more niche, you're more likely to then get passive traffic as well. I ran a campaign for a client. We were doing community tuition, so we were tutoring disadvantaged students, and we picked up quite a lot of traffic because there were lots of other community projects, and actually we picked up a couple of clients because of the campaign that we ran as well. So
awesome.
It was quite good.
Yeah.
So what sort of things did you do to prepare for your campaign?
Yeah, I mean, Crowdfunding UK sounds like I'm doing an advert for them now. I'll stop mentioning their name. But no, they were great. They did have really great. Well, exactly. They had really clear packs for sort of preparing. Some of the information was a bit overwhelming. Didn't do all of it, but yeah, they have like a sort of preparing your campaign, running your campaign, and everything. And I just sort of like worked my way through those packs. One shouldn't underestimate the kind of time, care, work, and attention that goes into doing it well. Like and you can see that from looking at the packs. It's like, it needs to be quite, you could just potentially whack something up there in one day and see how it flies, but it probably won't fly. Whereas, yeah, I mean, I announced to my friends and family that I was crowdfunding. Bearing in mind, I'd initially planned to do this just pre-Christmas, and then it all for a number of reasons, it all just seemed like too much to run the business, to run the crowdfunder, all in the run up to Christmas. Just felt really didn't feel right at all. So then that's why I kind of moved it into this year. Yeah, so I'd actually been, they tell you to kind of warm up the crowd. And so because I had, been talking about it since October, I think that really helped so that people were all prepped and excited and ready for it. So I think, warming up the crowd is good, particularly your friends and family, because they're kind of going to be, your existing network is like the low-hanging fruit. They're the people who are already supporting it. I think, what really helped me is obviously I had something, the project was already up and running. So there was already credibility. There was already a community beyond my personal network. I don't know what it was, at the time of launching the crowdfunder, probably had like 3,000 Instagram followers for the project. So, but even if the business isn't existent, you can start building that community or the sort of social project or whatever it is. You can start building that community sometime before, and it is really worth doing that, even if it takes a couple of months or however long, to start kind of nurturing the crowd, engaging with people, explaining what you're trying to do. So people kind of can buy into the vision. It's good to have a logo or to have some kind of like brand assets, so it just feels like it's a sort of solid project in the making. And also in preparation, had to create a video, which was quite a big project in itself. I was really lucky because somebody approached me about making a crowdfunding video, just because they were enamored with the whole concept. But yeah, you can actually make quite, a completely adequate video yourself, just using free editing tools. It's just worth it's worth planning it, storyboarding it, and then, mixing some sort of like real life footage that sort of illustrates it with, just with talking directly to the camera and making it like a really sort of powerful and engaging narrative. So yeah, and there's quite a lot of information online, sort of what makes a good like crowdfunding video flow. And I kind of obviously see if there's similar projects and see which ones work, which ones don't, what you like about the video. Like you just unpick videos that feel like they're quite impactful or have raised a lot of money, and kind of borrow from the sort of like narrative arc and style of those.
Yeah, I went to a funding, so someone had done a crowdfund that I'd actually contributed to, and one of the bigger investors had, so this was for equity. One of the bigger investors had said, on the strength of the video alone, that's why I'm here, because it communicated the personality of the person. So obviously equity is slightly different, in that they're kind of in it a little bit longer term in terms of, and they're a little bit more invested. So they want to know what personality type of person they're getting in with. But actually, so do people for a crowdfunding campaign. If they see you as someone that's maybe not going to complete the project, you're going to get all that money and then squander it. Like you said about your credibility, having your project running beforehand gave you credibility. And so if you can build in that credibility in your video, you can show it through your posts and lead up to launch. It's a really, really good thing.
Yeah, and I guess obviously if we're talking about businesses and projects in the social space, it's about working out, I guess, sort of like how you're quantifying impact and being really clear on what the kind of aims or social missions are and how you're going to measure success. So I guess they kind of recommend putting pie charts and figures and things like that into your crowdfunding page, but I guess that's more for projects that are kind of not up and running. But if they're if a project hasn't yet started, it is good to have some metrics and show that you are planning this really effectively, and you don't have to give your entire sort of like business plan or whatever away. It's just giving a bit of a top line that shows that you've thought these things through, and you know what a successful sort of outcome is, and that you will be working towards it on the basis of sort of like receiving those funds. So yeah, just a bit of data and a bit of sort of something tangible in there is really helpful.
And so how did you, so once you've sort of launched the campaign itself, how did you go about kind of distributing that information? Was it just via email, or what did you do?
Yeah, I mean, a few things. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn has been really good as well. Contact the press. Obviously, only don't go. Makes sense to be quite targeted when contacting the press, like obviously local press, or sort of like specialist press is best. And also, yeah, like I already had like quite a good newsletter following. So again, it's good to just set up like a little Wix website, just something really basic, and then have a mailing list, so that you can sort of promote it out to those people. So yeah, I'm just trying to think if there was anything else. No, I mean, I was including little leaflets in sort of saying got a stamp saying we're crowdfunding, and was sort of giving out little leaflets basically saying that we're crowdfunding, to kind of remind people at different points that they interact with us, and that's what we're doing.
Was that during the food deliveries?
Yeah, so when kind of going around delivering to people, give them a little flyer and with stamped on it, and hand it when I'm doing the transaction out to them. So I'm just trying to think if there was anything else. I mean, there's loads of other ways you can do it as well, in terms of posting in some groups, but like posting in relevant Facebook groups. Some don't allow that, some really welcome it because it's obviously relevant. A lot sometimes local cafes and things like that might accept a bit of a printed flyer or something to put on the wall. Yeah, there's loads of different, it's worth just trying absolutely everything. And one of the pieces of advice that they give you, again, not sure it's one that I necessarily did, but it is good to do, is basically create a bit of a network map. So you actually are don't just put it out on the newsletter, on the social media, like top line, but contact people individually, who and break those people down into different groups, is the proper way of doing it. And kind of obviously, and then sort of reach out to those people through an appropriate means. You might have an old relative that is never going to see you on Facebook, but if you wrote them a warm letter, they might respond. So yeah, it's just about, it's about kind of like being like, who are all of the people that I can contact in my immediate network, and sending them a thing out. Also, it's worth, I don't know if this is official advice, this is what I found was quite good. I kind of opened my crowdfunder at 11, but I opened it to my family and friends a bit earlier, so that by the time the general public kind of see there's already a bit of momentum behind it. And it's like, when something's got a bit of momentum behind it, it encourages other people to back it as well.
There's a piece of advice, I think it does match exactly the sort of standard advice. I think it's 50, if you can get like 55% funding, like the ones that get fully funded, if you get 55% in the first, I think it's 48 hours, then you're significantly more likely to finish. And I think in the first 3 days, you'd already got a good chunk of money.
Yeah. I was fully, so with a 5-week campaign, I was fully funded in 3 days, which is absolutely insane. And so, yeah, we're now on like the third the second stretch target. But yeah, I mean, I read that statistic as well, and to be honest, it was really, really, really scaring me. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's because with crowdfunding, a lot of it does come from your trusted network, and your trusted network aren't generally going to waste any time in backing your project. So yeah, don't be scared by that.
Yeah, excellent. And did you use paid ads at all, or was it just sort of organic reach?
No, I thought of doing that, not for any good reason. I kind of just didn't need to, and I couldn't. But I think it can work, but you'd have to be really careful in the messaging. The rewards would have to seem really, really appealing and really well presented, and or kind of intriguing. Or I mean, I don't know. I guess there's two ways. You either promote the story, or you promote the rewards, right? And I think I didn't, but I'm sure it could be done to good effect, to be honest.
Oh, it's interesting to see that you've built an impressive story and managed to get funding without having to have that additional reach, so it can be done. And it's really important. Like the one thing that we talk to the people that I work with about is that there is no one right way, but there are. So if you try lots of different ways, you get to understand the ways that work for you and for your campaign. So you need to have the energy to be able to do that as well, because it sounds like you've put a huge amount of effort in as well, which is great.
Yes.
But they need, it needs to be thought about as not just this easy exercise that's like a quick way of churning out money. It's like you've got to actually seem like you're actually going to.
Yeah, I mean, you need to have a business. You need to have a plan for the project, like a costed plan, really, and know what you want to do because a lot of work went into that because, I had to work out exactly how much money I needed to do what I needed to do, and that takes a lot of time as well to cost all of that up. And obviously you can just set a target kind of arbitrarily, but it won't be so compelling or credible. And it's also another bit of advice, and on that same note, I got to a stage where I'd set a target based on what I knew I definitely needed, and then I hit that target, and then there was one other thing that I'd kind of costed into my plan in terms of investment in the next few months. I hadn't really costed much up beyond that point. What I'm trying to say is you need to prepare for failure, like budget emotionally for the fact that it might be a complete flop and you need to rethink it, but also prepare for it to be more successful than you anticipated, which is what I didn't do. And I then had to, in the middle of the campaign, spend so much time kind of crunching numbers, researching, working out what I was going to spend additional money on before setting my other stretch target. And so it's doing all of this like intense business planning in the middle of the campaign isn't ideal. It would be good to kind of have that plan beforehand, and so even if you're setting a target of X, you've actually also know what you would do with this and what you would do with this. So yeah, you kind of you need to have a plan for it, for getting 2 or 3 times the amount that you're kind of asking for.
Well, that's amazing. So where can people find out a bit more about your project?
Yeah, so if you want to watch the video or grab a lovely reward, then you just go on to crowdfunder.co.uk/top-up-truck. I'm just going to check that that's right. Yes, crowdfunder.co.uk.
We'll put a link in the description as well. We'll put a link in the description.
Awesome.
So click.
Yeah, and the project, it says help us level up the top-up truck. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. And thanks very
so
much for watching, guys.
Yeah, good to see you. Take care. Thanks. Bye.